Welcome to the Cosmic Chosen Channel. The cosmos always pays back its debts, and occasionally it will send the loudest storm to show that you were always valuable. I have a story that will make you shiver a little. Researchers found that the entire ecosystem, from plants to rivers, realigns itself when a pack of wolves is brought back into a forest after years of absence. Trees get taller. Rivers shift their course because a natural drive was restored to bring about equilibrium, prey numbers stabilized. And you know what? That wolf is you. Snakes in disguise, smiling assassins, and individuals who used your generosity as a weapon, as if it were a weakness, have been all around you for years. They relied on you keeping quiet. They took a chance on your seclusion. They also placed a large wager that nobody would ever pursue you. Because someone is going to enter your battleground with fire in their eyes and your name in their mouth. Spoiler alert, they lost. The best part is that they're not requesting permission. Treaties of peace are not being negotiated. They will stop at nothing to protect you. Additionally, this isn't your typical kind of decent guy, modest protector. This one has a petty streak, a spiritual crowbar, and receipts. The let me call out your enemies by name while eating popcorn type of energy is probably familiar to you. They also bring about a significant change in your abundance. I'm speaking of heavenly restitution for every silent conflict, betrayal you accepted, and instance in which you held your head up while your heart ached. Not a trickle, not a slow build. Your adversaries are suddenly restless. Your plenty was delayed, and you needed to isolate yourself. And what I'm about to say will explain why. So stay right here. They sense it, and you will too after this. Let's begin. First of all, the protector you were sent is an ancient spirit in a new guise, not a new ally. The person who is currently entering your life to protect you is not a stranger who appeared out of thin air. This has nothing to do with luck or making new friends. The true nature of the situation is far more profound than most people would ever comprehend. The spirits of this individual and you have already met, in other eras, locations, and possibly even lifetimes. The two of you share a spiritual connection that defies the laws of this world. It's the kind of bond that endures death, time, and distance. And when your soul called out for assistance, the universe called upon the energy of a guardian you already knew but had forgotten you needed, rather than frantically searching for someone. They will therefore seem oddly familiar to you when you first meet them. How long you've known them in this life won't matter. It can be a few days, weeks, or years. You are experiencing spiritual recognition when you say, "I don't know what it is about you, but I feel like I've known you forever." It's the remnant of a relationship that existed long before you had a name, a career, or a painful past. They were waiting for the perfect time to intervene, not because they didn't care, but because spiritual laws forbid interfering before certain lessons are learned. But because this person was meant to be on your soul's journey. You had to be broken, alone, and betrayed. You had to first determine who was truly on your side and who was out to get you. This protector is free to come forward now that you have gone through what was required. When they arrive, your story takes a different turn. This person's presence will remove the lingering risks from your life, just like storms remove dead branches from trees. Furthermore, it won't be subtle. People will sense it. Because true spiritual defenders have an energy that makes opponents uneasy before they even understand why, the people who planned your downfall will sense it before it is even mentioned. Second, in order to reveal parasites nearby, the significant change in abundance was purposefully postponed. In actuality, There was never any obstruction to your abundance. It was purposefully withheld, not to punish, but to protect you. It wasn't lost, stolen, or postponed due to misfortune or some cosmic error. While you were still surrounded by people who didn't deserve to be at your table, the higher forces keeping watch over your life understood exactly what would happen if you got everything you were supposed to have. Under the garb of supporters, they would have emptied you dry while grinning in your face and mentally noting how they could take advantage of your blessings. You weren't delayed because you weren't ready or deserving. The folks around you weren't prepared, but you were. Your space was overrun with parasites, those who publicly applauded you but privately hoped you wouldn't outperform them. Others who emerged only when it was advantageous to them and vanished as soon as you needed them. Your abundance wouldn't have remained yours for very long if it had been released any earlier. You would have been emotionally blackmailed, coerced, and guilt-tripped into giving it away to people who didn't deserve it. Because the world needed to make sure you saw everyone for who they really were. No masks, no excuses, no second chances, rather than because it liked seeing you suffer. It put you through a season of loneliness, betrayal, and disappointment to expose them. You could safely receive the blessing only when the dust calmed and the incorrect persons had been removed or exposed, and that time has arrived. Now that the coast is clear, the energy is changing. Your hands are no longer bound by allegiance to the incorrect snakes now that they have been identified. There won't be any delays, interruptions, or thefts of what is coming to you now. Waiting for the precise moment you stopped giving front-row tickets to folks who clapped with one hand. It was always yours. This is interest-bearing delayed remuneration, not a random favor. You're going to feast on the people who believed they got away with obstructing you. Third, the identical laws that your adversaries used to hide are not applicable to this defense. This defender's appearance in your life is so revolutionary because they are not constrained by the same laws that your adversaries have been using to hide. You see, they who attempted to destroy you have been slick. To hide their activities, they have been utilizing spiritual weaknesses, morals, and phony innocence. They deceived you in ways that were difficult to expose, such as covert betrayals, flattering remarks, and lies that were just enough true to cause you to question your own integrity. They also played the victim when you reacted. You were supposed to either remain silent or blow up and look crazy during the setup. They played dirty the entire time, even though you tried to fight fairly. This substitute for you isn't interested in following those fictitious guidelines. They have no interest in maintaining harmony, pleasing others, or preserving anyone's hard-earned reputation. They were dispatched to reveal the mess, put an end to it, and protect you in ways that you were not permitted to do for yourself, not to console you. This is not one of those highly spiritual rules your adversaries employed to silence you. Their task is to face, expose, and destroy all that has been erected against you. They are not there to turn the other cheek or to conceal information in order to avoid confrontation. Furthermore, the time is perfect. This defender is now free to maneuver in ways you couldn't, since the disguises are falling off and the lies are becoming less convincing. They have the kind of energy that makes others uneasy before they even speak. The kind of person that speaks what needs to be said, loud and unrepentant. They are skilled at getting under the skin of people who have harmed you, not out of petty animosity, but rather because equilibrium needs to be restored. Additionally, this cleanup won't be quiet. The same individuals who become brave behind closed doors will have to deal with something they never anticipated. Someone who can match or surpass their level of intensity. and it will make an impression. Fourth, before they intervened, the spiritual realm was waiting to see if you would sell out. Most people won't acknowledge the fact that loyalty played a role in some of the delays in your life. Not only timing. The spiritual world was keeping a careful eye on you to see if you would betray yourself, rather than to gauge how flawless you could be. They needed to know if you would start to dull your light in order to fit in, if you would compromise your morals, soften your voice, or accept things that made you feel bad in order to get out of the strain you were under. When things get tough, most people sell out in subtle, quiet ways, laughing at things that aren't humorous, hanging on to people who drain them, and accepting circumstances that are disrespectful to their soul. However, you didn't. You put up with the rejection, the loneliness, the phony supporters, and the schemes to destroy you. You deliberately stood in spaces where people misinterpreted you, and you didn't back down to accommodate them. The spiritual world was waiting to see if you could stand your ground when it seemed like no one else noticed your value. Not if you could burn sage, quote scriptures, or participate in rituals. The test that distinguishes the chosen from the rest is that one. And you had to demonstrate that you wouldn't exchange your birthright for short-term respite, which is why it took so long for heavenly assistance to come. Even though your project felt like a curse, you had to demonstrate that you were able to handle it. Additionally, something old has been activated in your bloodline because you remained firm. Because of your tenacity, a curse cycle associated with betrayal, poverty, quiet, and self-betrayal is ending. You made it through for those who couldn't before you, not just for yourself. And now you're receiving the help you've been looking for as a reward rather than sympathy. Because you earned it, the spiritual world is sending reinforcements, and what is going to be released on your behalf will rock the basis of every institution that excluded you. Fifth, some of your erstwhile adversaries will have to admit your authority in public. Your story is currently going through a change that is entirely related to re-establishing equilibrium and has nothing to do with getting even. Whether it was through deceit, jealousy, covert sabotage, or outright character assassination, those who opposed you believed their activities would remain hidden. They were certain that you would either vanish in silence, crumble under the pressure of their plans, or, at most, rebuild in silence while acting as though nothing had occurred. The divine law of return is going to strike, which is something they didn't anticipate. It won't be about evasive texts checking in out of the blue or private apologies spoken in guilt this time. It would be too safe and too simple. The cosmos no longer cares about preserving their pride. They will have to publicly recognize your power in order to make up for the spiritual imbalance they caused by publicly dismantling you. There will be no negotiating. Your name must be spoken with respect by the same people who disregarded it. The same individuals who said you would never get better will have to acknowledge that you were never weak, sometimes in front of the very people they poisoned. The threat was always you. Some will be powerless to change the situation. Spiritual law requires it. That's how energy functions. A debt is established when someone interferes with a divine mission like yours, and it's not always possible to pay it off in silence. Therefore, some will swallow their pride and attempt to covertly support you behind the scenes, while others will be forced to publicly defend you, standing up for the very person they once derided. Not because they suddenly developed a conscience, but because it is necessary for their peace, advancement, and safety. This isn't retaliation. Rather, it's a divine correction meant to demonstrate to them and the rest of the world that your ascension was never a question. Man did not deny that it was delayed for timing. Sixth, you were being prepared to command. You were never intended to fight every battle. You believed that surviving every attack, treachery, and dubious action against you was your job for a long time. You believed that it was your personal duty to reply, to defend, to establish your identity, and to maintain your good reputation. However, you were unaware that you weren't destined to engage in every conflict that came your way. You were being prepared for command, not just another soldier in the field, which is why you were singled out so severely. A commander is trained to lead, plan, and make decisions that change the course of the conflict, whereas soldiers are educated to react based on their actions. The higher powers in charge of your life were subtly preparing you for a role where you wouldn't have to deal with dirt, while you were in the trenches, dealing with things you shouldn't have even had to acknowledge. When your world was on fire, the constant tests taught you discipline, patience, and how to see the wider picture. They weren't about being tough. The universe is sending you a defender now that the training season is coming to an end. Not because you're weak, but because your time on the front lines is coming to an end. Commanders don't waste time responding to trivial criticism. They don't respond to every taunt or investigate every rumor. They take the lead in movements. They leave behind a legacy. They are in charge of territory. And you must quit exhausting yourself in battles that were never intended for you in the first place if you want to enter that next season of prosperity and power. This defense demonstrates how your role has changed. Instead of fighting alone as you previously did, you will now have forces and individuals assigned to fight for you, not because you can't, but because you shouldn't. The ideas you've been holding on to and the dreams you've been too tired to bring to life are part of the kingdom you're destined to create. Your position in the conflict is changing, but it isn't ending. And those adversaries who believed they could distract you, what happens when a commander stops swinging and begins calling the shots is what they are about to discover. Seventh, the truths they attempted to conceal are linked to your abundance. It's not simply money or luck that's coming your way. It's a well-planned return of everything that was taken, blocked, or hidden so deeply that you were unaware it was yours. Not because you were unworthy, but because some aspects of your spiritual and physical inheritance were purposefully kept hidden from you, not by accident or circumstance, but by those who knew exactly what you carried and what would happen if you ever figured it out. This is why your abundance has felt delayed or inconsistent. Some of your best chances were snagged before you ever realized they were there. You were never invited inside the rooms where conversations concerning you took place. Before you could even knock, doors were closed on your behalf. Some members of your family made decisions years ago to conceal certain spiritual abilities and realities in the hopes of gaining favor or protection. Not only did those hidden truths impact them, but they also started a domino effect that delayed prosperity, power, and understanding for subsequent generations. The problem with spiritual law, however, is that no matter how hard you conceal something, it will eventually surface when the time for restoration arrives. What is about to happen to you is not an accident or a random favor. Rather, it is restoration disguised as wealth. Its energetic recompense and the possibilities, financial benefits, and spiritual clarity that come your way are exactly related to the things that others attempted to suppress or take. Everything that was taken from you, every blocked link, every stolen opportunity, every inheritance that someone said you weren't deserving of, is being returned to you. The most poetic aspect is that some of the same individuals who attempted to prevent you from obtaining those things will be forced to watch you rise, not because you pleaded for it, but because it is necessary for spiritual balance. Your abundance is about justice, not consumerism. It's prosperity that comes with receipts, money with a narrative. Furthermore, it cannot be halted this time. When the contracts that are hidden against you expire, Number 8. The defender shows up. Most people are unaware that spiritual warfare involves more than simply surface level or petty jealousy. Some of the people who worked against you did more than just gossip or wish you harm in passing. They established spiritual agreements to keep you confined, whether they knew it or not. These agreements may have been forged through rituals, verbal curses, envy, or resentful words said in fury. These were not innocuous acts. They were serious. Furthermore, the spiritual realm itself was woven with terms and expiration dates from those unseen contracts. A few individuals in your life, including members of your family, joined these agreements in order to obstruct your relationships, interfere with your finances, undermine your self-esteem, and postpone your fate. And as long as those contracts remained in effect, it seemed like something invisible would always push back, regardless of how hard you worked or how good your intentions were. You would be on the verge of making a breakthrough, only to have it elude you at the last second. Possibilities would come and go without warning. Without reason, people would become cold. It was spiritual interference, not your imagination. The part they overlooked, however, was that those contracts had expiration dates, dates that were connected to divine timing, ancestral awakenings, and cosmic alignments. Furthermore, no matter how strong a man thinks he is, he cannot control those moments. The defender entering your life at this time isn't just happening. It's because those spiritual agreements have finally fallen apart. The agreements were terminated. The terms had been revoked. Additionally, those who profited by your obstructions are now vulnerable to repercussions that they cannot avoid by prayer or cunning. In addition to providing security, this defender serves as confirmation that the unseen bonds encircling your life have been broken, and that the foes who plotted against you covertly are no longer protected by the same weaknesses they formerly exploited. They are no longer exempt from paying the price of every scheme, deception, and attempt at sabotage, because the spiritual playing field has changed. You are being put in rooms that your adversaries vowed you would never go into. Number 9. A significant change is taking place beneath the surface of your life, and it goes beyond anything you can see or touch. It transcends any money windfall or material blessing. You now have access to networks, conversations, and spaces that you would not have previously ever thought to allow. Your presence will soon be recognized or compelled to be respected in these halls, these circles where your name was formerly cursed or uttered with contempt. And no, this is a recalibration of the entire system that used to operate against you, not just a change in how people perceive you. Your name was viewed as a liability for a very long time. People assumed you were just a fleeting storm that they could weather, so they murmured about you out of fear, jealousy, or condemnation. They made sure your voice was muffled, closed doors in your face, and banned you from the industry. It was strategic as well as personal. They saw the power that might change the course of the game and knew your potential before you even completely realized it. Additionally, they made every effort to prevent you from entering the areas where actual choices are made. You were instructed to keep out, keep quiet, and keep small as they erected barriers around those chambers. However, those same rooms are going to become your new home. You're going into areas where your adversaries believed they had the advantage and where your name was once associated with failure or unimportantness. They have completely recalculated. The change isn't just that the roles have been reversed. The power dynamic has shifted, and the energetic rules that once ruled those regions are no longer in control. Those who previously rejected you will now have to acknowledge your strength or suffer the energy repercussions. They will no longer be able to pretend. When you go inside the room, it will feel different. The change in energy and the weight of your presence will be felt by them. Once a burden they attempted to remove, your name will now be a mark of respect and authority. Either they will stand up to greet you, or they will fall behind, caught in the same web of lies they previously spun. This is a cosmic realignment of the forces that once attempted to stifle you, not merely a moment of personal triumph. Your quiet was interpreted as weakness. Therefore, the defense, number 10, was sent. People who couldn't see above the surface mistook your quiet for far too long. They perceived it as weakness when you decided not to fight back, when you remained silent, and when you declined to participate in the baseless allegations and small-scale attacks. They believed you were too weak, too timid, or too afraid to stand up for yourself. They didn't realize that your stillness was a sign of restraint, a strength that only those who had experienced spiritual awakening can identify. You weren't compromising. You were standing your ground because you knew when to move purposefully and when to stay motionless, not because you were unable to communicate. You weren't following the rules they knew. You weren't letting yourself get taken down to their level, getting caught up in their gossip, or losing yourself in their drama. You recognized the wider picture and realized that not all battles are worth waging verbally, particularly when doing so willfully wastes your energy. While they miscalculated you, you were actually developing something much more potent in that silent strength. Mastery over your actions, emotional control, and the realization that not everything must be battled on an even playing field. Your case has now been heard by the spiritual courts. The evidence has been considered. They have observed your self-control and have discerned the depth of your character. The period of quiet is ending, and a force is taking its place to speak where your voice has been silenced. The cosmos recognized your self-mastery and determined it was time for your message to be heard, which is why they sent this protector, not because you were weak. They will enter rooms where your name was muttered in jest, and they will use the weight of divine authority to affirm your value. Your decision to remain silent was not a sign of weakness. Rather, it was a calculated move that now allows your defender to intervene and argue that you were unable to, re-establishing equilibrium where your voice had been silenced. Those who misunderstood your strength will soon see it in full force, and what you didn't say back then will be made plain now. Furthermore, the defender at number 11 is there to reset the balance, not to play fairly. The energy that has come to your defense is not like any other energy you have ever experienced. It is not concerned with diplomacy or following the rules of those who have attempted to hurt you. It's not about maintaining appearances, conserving face, or shielding delicate egos. Its purpose is much more fundamental and profound. It is here to restore equilibrium, and it will do so without hesitation or regret. This is about justice, not about making things easy or fair for people who have betrayed you. Making sure the scales are balanced, and that people who believed they could behave without repercussions realize that mercy is earned rather than expected is the goal here. Those who conspired against you, who manipulated, deceived, and injured you with their power, will quickly understand that the energy around you is no longer negotiable. It is not meant to comfort you or ease the guilt of those who have harmed you. Their carefully crafted facades and reputations are irrelevant to this power. It owes them nothing, and when they have mistreated it, it most definitely owes them no mercy. They are losing the tranquility they previously had, the phony composure they attempted to preserve while harming you. They can no longer dodge the consequences of their deeds. This is not about equal tit for tat. The defense is not concerned with fairness as it is understood by humans. It's about divine retribution, where a higher power that knows when enough is enough righted wrongs, not you. Those who used your generosity, believing you would never be able to defend yourself, are about to witness the consequences of misinterpreting your silence as weakness. They'll realize that mercy wasn't simply something they denied you. They won't be able to demand it for themselves anymore. Not only have things changed, but the whole system in which they used to function is collapsing, and they will be unable to escape the consequences. The abundance shift, number 12, contains intangible riches that is impossible for your adversaries to steal. You're about to experience a change that goes beyond monetary benefits. It's not merely the kind of riches that manifests in bank accounts or tangible possessions. It's the kind of plenty that works outside the realm of people who have attempted to subjugate, control, or control you in the past. The money will arrive, yes. Success will materialize. More significantly, though, you're going to acquire the kind of riches that nobody can steal, control, or tamper with. This is as real as it gets, spiritual and intangible. Clarity comes first, a level of awareness and insight that pierces through misunderstanding and distortion like a sword is about to come to you. The noise that was obstructing your eyesight will vanish. Opportunities that you had never even thought of before will present themselves, and the way forward will seem unstoppable. It's the kind of insight that moves you both in the material and spiritual realms, enabling you to make decisions with divine accuracy. Influence comes next. You are about to enter areas where the energy is changed by your presence. People will start to flock toward you because of the energy you radiate, not because of what you can do for them, and your words and deeds will have greater impact. They are unable to replicate, counterfeit, or create this kind of effect. They won't have the same resonance, but they'll try. Additionally, you're taking on a role of spiritual authority. This is the kind of authority that makes doors open, enemies retreat, and circumstances align because the universe acknowledges you as an agent of divine will. It transcends all titles, occupations, and positions. Despite their best efforts, your adversaries will be unable to break through the barriers that surround you. Their attempts to undermine you will feel like swimming against a current that keeps driving them away, and you'll be operating in environments they didn't even know existed. And lastly, heavenly immunity. In ways they never thought were conceivable, you're becoming untouchable. Every scheme, assault, and attempt at sabotage will encounter an obstacle. Since you're entering a level of favor they didn't believe to be genuine, you won't be vulnerable to the traps they place. This is a safeguard that transcends reason and reasoning. Your adversaries won't even comprehend why their attacks continue to fail, but you will know. It's because you've entered a new power dimension that they are unable to access. Number 13. As the defense destroys the web, covert betrayals will come to light. The subtle web of deceit that has been skillfully constructed around you is about to be upended by the cosmos. Some of the people you believed to be on your side were actually working against you in secret. These weren't your obvious opponents. They were the ones who grinned at you, gave you words of support, and pretended to be your staunchest allies while secretly hatching schemes. They believed you wouldn't know, so they were waiting for the ideal opportunity to watch you fall. However, for those who have been lurking in the shadows, things are about to get uncomfortable when the defender steps into your life and starts to disturb the spiritual milieu around you. Those who have deceived you will feel guilty and afraid when the defense is there. The carefully constructed facades of these covert opponents, who formerly felt secure in their concealment, will come tumbling down. Their secrets will be revealed, and they will feel the weight of the truth. It won't be subtle. The spiritual forces involved will not let their deceit go unnoticed. The people in your life who believed they could act without repercussions are suddenly being compelled to disclose their genuine motivations, as if a spotlight had been switched on. In addition to protecting you, the defender exposes falsehoods, removes the masks, and brings the truth to light. Relationships you've maintained for years may fall apart in unexpected ways. When the heat is on, those you formerly thought of as family or close friends will reveal their actual selves. It could be uncomfortable and startling, but it's essential. Ascension is about letting go of things that no longer serve you, even if they are bound by enduring ties. It is not just about acquiring new things. Your clean ascension comes at the cost of letting go of these harmful attachments. There must be no residual negative energy in your orbit as you enter a new level and soar. Even though they hurt, these betrayals are essential purges for your development. So, get ready. The people who used to be a part of your life and who appeared to be devoted allies are going to reveal who they really are. And although while it could sting initially, this realization is a spiritual reorientation and a divine purification that frees you from the burden of deceit. The activation of your final form is indicated by this defender, number 14. You've been working at a fraction of your potential for far too long. You become a lesser version of yourself as a result of life's hardships, betrayals, and ongoing survival strain. Because survival mode requires it, you pulled back, adjusted, and even shrank in some circumstances, not because you lacked its strength. Protecting the fragile wings of your future self, while the world compels you to be grounded in a way that undervalues your potential, is like being in a cocoon. However, that moment is over. Something inside of you is waking up with the defender's presence. It's a force that has always been there, but has been concealed, waiting for the proper opportunity to show itself. Your final form, the version of you that has always been in the spiritual realm, the one your allies never saw coming and your adversaries feared most, is being activated. This is not simply a simple metamorphosis or glow up. They didn't know who you truly were, and now they were going to learn. This is a transformation that transcends outward achievement or bodily changes. It's the release of a force that has been building beneath the surface, just waiting for the right opportunity to emerge. The transition is about entering a new dimension of yourself that has been triggered by cosmic realignment and divine timing, not about fitting into a world that attempted to repress you. Those who witnessed only the shards of your strength will not recognize the version of you that is about to emerge. The constraints of survival mode will no longer hold you back. You are going to become a power that surpasses anything your adversaries believed they could control. This is a spiritual coup, a whole and total takeover of your identity, purpose, and destiny, not a slow and steady growth. Your power has changed along with the energy around you. People who believed they knew you will be taken aback. From barely surviving to completely thriving, you've transformed into an unstoppable version of yourself. In this case, the defender's job is not just to keep you safe, but also to make room for this last form to emerge and occupy the worlds you were meant to rule. Neither the world nor your adversaries will be aware of what happened. Nothing can stop you now. You're transcending, not simply progressing. As this life-changing experience plays out in front of you, realize that it's a cosmic recalibration rather than just a change in circumstances. You've persevered through the hardships, made it through the conflicts, and come out stronger, smarter, and far more powerful than you ever imagined. With the defenders coming, the world will finally get to see you in all your splendor. The version of you that has always been meant for greatness, but has been hiding in plain sight, waiting for the ideal opportunity to emerge. This is about your soul unashamedly taking its proper position in the cosmos, not about material achievement, short-lived successes, or surface-level victories. You are here to lead, to conquer, to recalibrate not just your life, but the whole energetic landscape around you. You are no longer merely surviving. The Defender is more than just a guardian. It is a force that increases your legitimate authority, makes the way clear, and makes sure that every obstacle you encounter only makes your climb stronger. You can't go back now that you've woken up to your final form. Your relentless climb will leave those who questioned you and attempted to dim your light in your wake. You are not the version of yourself that followed their rules, nor are you the person they believed they could keep small. You've transformed into an uncontrollable force. This is your moment to fully embrace your identity, assert your territory, and create the empire that was always intended for you. As the cosmos moves aside and observes your ascent, keep in mind that the struggles you faced served as training grounds for this precise time and weren't just about surviving. The power and purpose of God are embodied in you. The world is waiting for you to show them what happens when the unstoppable force and the unmovable soul meet. So go on with courage, chosen one. If these words resonated with you and you're prepared to welcome the change that lies ahead, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a second of your heavenly metamorphosis. To express your support for this journey, click the like button and write a remark. Tell us how this speaks to your life and what actions you're prepared to do to reach your greatest potential. It's time for all of the chosen ones to rise together. Therefore, spread the word to those who need to hear it. I promise you won't want to miss what comes next. This is only the beginning. Remember that your ascension has only just begun. Stay strong and stay tuned.